Hi guys, Hari here, commentating another game. This time is an in-house, just some friends of mine, friends of friends, game replays people, etc. Either way, the skill level shouldn't be too high, but it should be a pretty entertaining game nonetheless. Um, I started a little bit late here because I didn't want to have to spend too much time talking about the bans, but as far as bans go, we basically just got all the imbalanced heroes getting banned out. Interestingly enough, Tide Hunter, the first pick, still left in the pool. Shadow Demon and Lycan banned, as well as Broodmother. I don't know. I mean, a few less common bans. I mean, Brood's getting actually more common again with the bans. Lycan is obviously a very popular ban because that hero's broken. Shadow Demon may be less popular to ban here because it's kind of a skill-intensive hero, and I'm not so sure that the people at this level will be proficient enough to play him. But you never know. Interestingly enough, Windrunner actually making it past, the first set of picks and bans, so gonna get grabbed up now. A little bit of insight on some of these players that I know, at least. Benny Talk, I'm sure there will be some Dutch-speaking people who have problems with my pronunciation of his name, but plays a very good Windrunner. So I was actually surprised he didn't first pick it, but I guess he's really wanted the Tide for that team fight presence. Meanwhile, on the Radiant, we have Sand King and Shadow Shaman pick up. Really aggressive picks there, drafting by Awful with that Shadow Shaman, indicating they probably want to go for some sort of a push strategy, although not necessarily a push strategy, because obviously Shadow Shaman works quite well. Just with ganking as well. It doesn't always have to be turned into push. Or, I mean, it can be ganking, but just small ganking to pick up towers afterwards with the wards, something like that. But also, much more importantly, supposedly in this game, we're going to have Awful against Holy in the mid. There was a little trash talk in TeamSpeak before the game, and, it seemed that these two people have it out for each other. Holy made the call out that he'd like to see Awful in mid, so we put him on opposite teams, and hopefully that's what we're going to see. A clash of the ages in the mid, which might be Awful trying to hedge his bets, getting a very strong solo mid with the Shadow Shaman. Although I imagine that Bane pick is actually Holy's counter to that. Not necessarily that Bane counters Shadow Shaman, but Bane is just such a strong 1 versus 1 solo hero. In fact, I would probably try to dodge that. And yeah, it looks like we are in fact going to have a hardcore push lineup coming out of the Radiant, which I'm really interested to see. Basically, every time I try drafting push, it never really works out because the people don't, I don't know, they just get caught out of position sooner. Like, I mean, you kind of have to materialize at a certain point in the game, and before that, you really can't be dying a lot, and you have to go with the right items and right skill builds, and usually it just doesn't happen when I've played at this level. So I was a little bit disappointed, but I'm glad to see that the Radiant is going to be taking up the call. But at the same time, trying to push into Windrunner Tide is not an easy task. Tide with such a great team fight ultimate makes it really hard to force fights once Tide gets that level 6. And obviously Windrunner with Power Shot can really deny or slow pushes down, at least for a while, by power shotting down creeps with such a low cooldown. Although that's less effective against the Chen creeps, so I mean, it's still going to be a pretty good call there. We'll see what else they go to round that out with. Slaughter ban coming out from the Dire. It's a pretty reasonable ban. You expect the Radiant to want some sort of a kind of a mid-game carry like a Slardar or a Dragon Knight to go with their push strategy. Even a Skeleton King would be pretty good here. Although Bane is a pretty usual pickup of Necronomicon, and Necronomicon obviously very good against Skeleton King. Not to mention the fact that the Bane's ult does drain some mana as well. So I'm not so sure that Skeleton King would be such a good pickup here. Meanwhile, the Riki ban from the Radiant. Riki just really strong now after the buffs, and I don't know, no reason to allow that through when you think the other team is kind of going for a gank lineup, which is something that can, really put a hamper in the push strategy if you don't get it off the ground, like I was talking about. And then the Venomancer are going to be banned out. Obviously, the Radiant still needs some other support, and the Venomancer are great pushing support with those wards. If you can get level 3 or 4 wards by level 5 or 7, that'll really help materialize the push along with Chen and Shadow Shaman. So we'll have to see who they go for here as their support. I would guess that Vengeful Spirit would be a pretty solid pick at this point. Vengeful Spirit, nice against Bane, obviously being able to swap people out who get ulted. Nice against the Tide, being the positional play. And just having a stun and an aggressive hero like Vengeful Spirit who can do a fair amount of burst damage with the stun and the extra minus armor from Howl, but it lends itself well to pushing. The type of thing we were seeing a lot from Complexity when they first came on the scene, using the Chen, Shadow Shaman, Vengeful Spirit, Skeleton King push lineups. Although, again, not that I necessarily expect to see Skeleton King here. As far as the last picks from the Dire, they are going to have to, I assume, get some sort of a carry here. Lich is still around, but I don't think they want to go for the Lich Void just because that's so risky against a push lineup. Even if you do have really good team fight abilities, like the Tide Ult and the Shackle Shot from the Windrunner already, I would say that's less likely. So they're still going to have to pick up some sort of support here. It's also possible that they go for the Vengeful Spirit, although really the Crystal Maiden would be a much better pick. Crystal Maiden's so strong against heroes with creeps like Chen and Enchantress. First of all, because the AoE slow can really slow them down, slow down the creeps. When they're trying to come in, and the Frostbite, obviously keeping a creep in position for a long time because of the ridiculous duration against creeps. But they are going to go for Lich, which means maybe they are looking to do that Lich Void. That would be my guess. Void is good kind of for turtling because you can TP to towers and get a good ult off, but I'm still not so sure I would have gone Lich. Lich is kind of a risky idea against a push lineup because normally the reason why Lich fell out of favor was because teams they said, okay, well, you're going to deny a bunch of creeps, thanks for helping us out, we're just going to take your towers now. And even if there was an experience disadvantage, it was easily made up for with the gold advantage. So I expect the last. Well, actually, there's really not a need to pick a support here at this point for the Radiant because they can actually take with their last pick if they want to try to grab the carry they want first. But at the same time, allowing themselves to see what the carry for the Radiant or for the Dire is going to be first before doing something of their, or before picking a carry of their own might give them some sort of an advantage in that regard. But no, they are just going to go for the Night Stalker pick actually. So that's interesting. I wonder if they're going to consider running maybe the Rasta here as a support, although I certainly hope not. I really do not like support Rasta. Even though, I mean, it works, but it's just not so optimal. I'd rather see Rasta get the early levels so that he gets early points in Aether Shock. Much higher to take down creep waves, and obviously the wards to take down the tower. It's possible they could end up trying to farm the Night Stalker, and well, they can't even really set up a dual lane. Well, I guess if they have the skeleton or Sand King solo side lane, like sacrifice lane, then they could put the Night Stalker and a support dual lane bottom with Chen, or even top. Although I doubt they'll go to aggressive lane with the Night Stalker dual lane, Chen in the woods. So yeah, probably not going to happen in that regard. But Night Stalker, a decent pickup against the Dire lineup here. Obviously, if you can put the silence on Tide and just kind of ignore him and take out the other heroes initially in the team fight, it makes it a lot more difficult to get a good Tide out. But yeah, there is the Faceless Void pick that I expected to see. Again, this is just it's a really strong lineup, or a really strong combination at this level of play. People are a lot less good with the positional play, less good at keeping their spacing. A lot worse, less good. I'm not really sure, to be perfectly honest. English language fail again. But so it just makes a combo like this, which at the highest levels, which is what you would expect, you would see the combo certainly less because, people are going to spread out and they're not going to get caught. But here, it's much more likely that people will get caught, especially when they're trying to push. There's a decent chance they're going to group up, get Tide ulted, Void's going to jump in, throw down his Chrono, and then Lich is just going to clean up. So we'll have to watch from that. As far as the Dire's lanes are concerned, I would assume they're going to send the Windrunner sacrifice lane, I guess. Well, if it was me, I would dual lane the Lich Void mid and then put Bane and Tide top. But I really think Holy, is going to want to go head-to-head with Awful in the mid, and I'm certainly hoping that's going to happen. So I hope he doesn't dodge and put the dual lane mid, although it is certainly the more preferable lane. Having Lich in that mid lane is just so strong because you can deny the creeps, keep the lane back on your side of the hill, basically, and deny the experience. Obviously, if you put Lich in like the top lane as the Dire, if you deny creeps, you're going to pull it back into your tower, and then you're going to end up pushing the lane, which is not so good. So mid is a perfect location for Lich, also because it's such a short distance going up the hill that it's kind of easy to go on the enemy team if they get a little too overconfident. And Lich also in a dual lane in mid gets good levels, whereas you certainly don't want to tri-lane Lich because Lich does need the levels to be successful because you want points in the ult. Meanwhile, for the Radiant here, I hope to see a support pick at this point. I really hope they're not doing support Shadow Shaman. So we'll see. Running down to the wire here. Hopefully not going to be a random pick with 2 seconds left, and they do end up picking the Queen of Fane, which means they are most likely going to be running Rasta Sand King lane bottom, which I guess doesn't make Rasta support. I mean, I guess they're just going to have the Chen kind of being the support role. They're going to have the Queen of Fane solo top, Night Stalker solo mid, and Rasta Sand King bottom with Chen in the woods. Which is pretty solid. Again, I don't really like the Night Stalker mid so much, and that's what he's going to throw down with. The Night Stalker is going to lose the mid no matter what. There's no good matchup for having the Night Stalker solo mid, which is going to be favorable for them, because if he goes up against Bane, he's going to lose, and if he goes up against the dual lane, he's going to lose. So I'm really not so sure that's going to work out very well for them. I would have thought it would be better. Well, it's possible that they put the Night Stalker in the bottom with like the Sand King. I'm having trouble Sand King skeleton king with the Sand King just constantly pulling, so the Night Stalker can farm down there. I'm not really sure, but we'll see. I actually am just going to change my settings real quick so that my video, so the camera, let's see, where is that at? Oops, I'm just clicking the wrong buttons now. Controls, spectator, nope. Where is the camera speed? That's what I really like. I feel like I'm just doing something really stupid now, and you guys are going to laugh at me. Game interface. Yeah, there we go. Camera acceleration down, camera speed down a little bit too. Okay, yeah, that's a little bit better. Alright, well, so let's take a look at the lanes. It looks like they are going to put the Night Stalker bottom, so I guess that I like that more at least. And they're going to kind of support him down there, have the Rasta in the mid. No, it looks like Rasta has bought support items. Sorry, I wasn't really watching at the beginning there. So he is going to be supporting, and maybe they're going to be sending... No, not the Sand King mid. No, it looks like the Night Stalker is going to be mid after all, so I don't like that. Interesting. Oh yeah, send him more items on the card. I was wondering, Night Stalker's not buying support items, is he? Meanwhile, we've got the Void in the mid for the Dire. Lich is probably just down here somewhere. Yeah, just going to deny a creep from the bottom. Always want to deny your long lane if you can, because it's going to immediately upset the creep equilibrium and bring the lane back to your tower unless the other team pulls. And it looks like Holy should be down here trying to set up a ward. And then, yeah, it looks like the Windrunner will actually be soloing top. So we're going to have... No, I don't really know now. Not Benny solo mid. Oh, and he's just standing there anyway. Might be AFK. I wonder if they'll call out for a pause. No, he starts moving. Yeah, Lich is going to head mid. So I guess we're going to have a solo Bane bottom. I don't really know about that. It's not going to be very effective at all here. I mean, he's going to get shut down. Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess they have a melee trying to support here if the Rasta is farming. I guess if the Rasta goes support, then it'll be fine. I don't know. We'll have to see. Anyway, like I said, this Night Stalker is going to get kept completely basically out of this lane and just give the Void free farm, which is not going to be so favorable. Yeah, I'm going to... but sorry, I don't want to spend too much time typing to him. But I guess I should. He probably doesn't know that I am commentating this, so I should explain that to him at some point. But yeah, so we have the Windrunner tied top. I mean, which is going to make it a lot easier for the Windrunner. But honestly, Windrunner, well, I mean, like I was saying, Windrunner shouldn't be up here anyway. I think Windrunner should be down. Because you don't want to face off against what the Radiant has going on here. But it's not like Windrunner would really have difficulty against Queen of Pain anyway, so I don't really know why the Tide is up here. I guess the Tide is just up here basically just because you want experience. I mean, it is really important as the Dire to get this Tide Hunter as much experience as possible. Oh, wow, this Night Stalker should be really aggressive here. Oh yeah, good job by the Chen, bringing the Tornado here right away. So really smart play there, actually, giving the Night Stalker some support in the mid for what would otherwise be a very difficult lane for him, just with his absolutely imbalanced Tornado. Just giving Benny fits here. Really surprised, though, that Benny is not playing Windrunner, which I was just talking up how good his Windrunner is, and he decides to go play the Void instead. I guess he was just more comfortable playing as their carry. But yeah, so good play by the Lich there, or the Chen there, making it a little bit more difficult for the Dire's mid. Meanwhile, though, it looks like they could set up some early pushes on this tower if they want. Actually, already have sentries, I guess, to counter ward. Ooh, thinking about going, but no, not going to happen. Unfortunately, Ali is tanking the tower a little bit there, but he did a good job of attacking it onto one of the creeps. Meanwhile, the Queen of Pain really not having too much difficulty up here. I mean, obviously she's not going... Oh, action is going to go bottom. I assume there's a sleep coming out. No, I think he already used Nightmare, so this is going to be first blood. Oh, gets the Brain Sap. Are they going to have enough? Oh, no, the Sand King blocks the Rasta, and it's actually not going to be enough, and now they're taking tower damage, and Holy is actually just going to man up here and try to come back in, but he doesn't have any mana, so I'm not sure what he's doing, and he is going to go down, and that will be first blood after all. So a decent dive in the end from the Radiant. I'm not really so sure why Holy turned back around there. Yeah, I guess Ali calling out the bait. So good turn of events for the Radiant here. Oh, but at the same time... Queen of Pain going down top. I'm really not sure why the Queen of Pain was caught like that. It wasn't even a power shot, I don't think. Maybe the power shot was sooner. So that's kind of unfortunate. I expected Queen of Pain to have an easy time not dying to this lane. I mean, unless a really good Shackle Shot comes out, there's no way that they're going to lock down the Queen of Pain long enough to kill her, I would think. And actually no points in Shackle Shot on the Windrunner. So I think that should have been a pretty decent lane for the Radiant. I mean, obviously not farming very well, but just getting the experience, which is really all you need. Looks like Night Stalker thinking about going on this Lich, but decides better of it. Night Stalker already does have his urn finished, so not farming too poorly after all. I am going to have to take a look at his creep score in a second. It looks like there's some maybe action wanting to go on here. Interestingly enough, though, Holy should have probably placed the ward right here so that he would have vision of people in who are standing right here, rather than placing it here, which is good because it does give you vision of the rune and block Chen from one creep spawn. But I think I would be less concerned with that and more concerned with having the vision of when the gank is coming. But at this point, he's able to just play back at his tower anyway, and already does have level 4, so that's certainly not a bad situation for him. So now I was talking about the creep score, and let's take a look at that. So 13 for 4 actually on this Night Stalker, which is actually really not bad at all. I mean, the Void obviously farming a little bit better at 17 and 2. But I mean, that's to be expected. The fact that Night Stalker is even doing half this well is certainly a testament to, well, good play by him. Oh, meanwhile, I just missed another kill. Sorry about that. That's the risk of checking stats with an aggressive lane like this. Bane going down again bottom. So again, I'm really not so confident with the strength of this Bane solo long lane. I really feel like having the Windrunner down here would have been better. But speaking of, I actually saw Queen of Pain actually getting a little bit aggressive here, but does have Blink, 2 levels in Blink already actually, so it should be fine. But yeah, the Windrunner though, speaking of, farming exceedingly well, 23 CS at 4.5 minutes basically is really nice from that Windrunner. Night Stalker though is getting close to his first night, so we can expect to see some action come out from him, and meanwhile the tower actually is taken down bottom, so nice job. The Chen play really paying off for them. We'll see if they can turn that into, oh, so close. But really, I'm impressed by his patience there. Like, he nukes him, and a lot of worse players would actually just run up and like try to get the hit on him and end up dying. But he's smart enough. He just throws out the Void, and it's tough to say Void here because there's a Void on the other team. He throws out the nuke on the Lich, and then decides to just back up. He's content. Meanwhile, though, there is a regen rune bottom. Only the Dire sees this, so I assume that someone would go for it. Maybe the Lich should just go grab that regen rune right now. That's probably what I'd be doing, because if this Night Stalker gets to it, especially now that he has that bottle, it's going to be really bad news for the Dire going into this first night here. Anyway, the other interesting developments, no, not so much. Chen getting close to level 5, so he will have 2 creeps. Does have another tornado, so can certainly come help mid out. I would have to say that was a big part of why the Night Stalker is doing so well in this lane, was thanks to that very, very kind early tornado, or early wildkin. Awful actually camping a regen rune bottom here. Is going to leave it for the Night Stalker. Night Stalker is coming down here. Pops his ultimate as soon as night hits. Beautiful play by this Night Stalker. The only interesting thing is actually does not have 1 point in Crippling Fear. And I don't really mind this so much, but I know some people really don't like it. Against a hero like Void or Windrunner who have escapes, I think having the 1 point in Crippling Fear would probably be worth it, but who am I to complain? This guy's been playing pretty well so far anyway. Unfortunately, does get the rune before he's able to bottle it, but doesn't really matter since he's a full bottle anyway, so actually it really changes nothing. And he's going to be able to be aggressive in this mid lane now with the Tornado for vision, a little bit of extra damage. And actually, there are 3 Dire heroes here, and it looks like Awful wanted to set something up, but not able to. But this is perfectly fine, him roaming around like this, because now the Rasta is just free farming bottom, which is exactly what he needs to get these levels of experience. Hopefully get the level 6 for those wards sooner rather than later. And Chen actually, yeah, the Tornado should be out soon here. So he's going to have to go pick up some more creeps, probably, because there's no way they're going to be pushing him with just 1 Wildkin without even a Tornado. Meanwhile, it looks like Awful's just kind of hanging around to get a little bit of experience and keep the Dire back. The Dire really sacrificing this bottom lane now, which is unfortunate. But at the same time, Queen of Pain has been forced back quite a bit on top as well. Yeah, talking about the Tornado, which really is just completely imbalanced. Anyway, there was something else I wanted to bring up at some point. Night Stalker, again, just doing some good harassment on the Void whenever he can, using those nukes. Looks like, no, Queen of Pain just moving back a little bit. Does still have a ward. Oh yeah, that's what I want to talk about. Actually, they just upgraded the curse. That's good, but actually no wards back up, so the supports for both teams kind of need to step it up a little bit at this point and get vision back up on the map. It's probably been a minute or so since the wards went down. And let's see if we have any wards coming out. I assume the Lich is back in base. I assume there's going to be wards. Asleep, actually, on the Night Stalker, and there's going to be an ult on the Sand King. Sand King going to Burrow Strike out. Power Shot not going to be enough damage, and looks like they're actually going to just turn around and be fine here. Oh, a Void coming out. The Night Stalker is going to think about it now, but then decides better of it. Again, just really, really smart play by him, not overextending. Oh, Power Shot, almost enough to kill him, but Chen is going to TP him out in time. Yeah, that might have actually been an interesting choice. Have him dive in with the Chen TP up on him. And just another Tornado. God, I would be so annoyed if I was on the Dire right now. Terminator doing a great job keeping his Tornadoes up. But yeah, as another spectator pointed out, there is some good free farm bottom. I should actually, just so that he doesn't think I'm being rude. Oh, no, we do have a haste coming up from the Shadow Shaman here. He has mana boots, so he will have enough basically for everything he wants to cast here. Oh, but he attacks the creep wave. I guess he's using it so that they can creep skip, and he's going to run around at the tower. Yeah. All right, so a good play after all, and they're going to die this Tide, and this Tide's certainly going to go down. There should be TPs coming out now, but no TPs anywhere near in time. And honestly, it wouldn't have really mattered. Just too much nuke damage there. Good movement from the Radiant. So overall, really nice play from them. And yeah, here are the wards I expected to see on the Lich. Let's see, we do have 2 up top now. Windrunner, again, just power shotting down creeps, trying to defend the tower. Night Stalker coming in behind, sees the Bane. Bane decides not to sleep him, interestingly enough. And looks like the Radiant is just going to back up here. It's 2 versus 5, so I hope the Dire doesn't try to go engage anything. I'm just going to explain that. Yeah, sorry, it looked like a little bit of action. Want to go down. Bane is going to get a nice sleep off, but yeah, really instantaneous reaction by the Rasta. Takes the sleep off of him, or Nightmare, whatever. I'm just going to call it sleep for, whatever, pity's sake. And they're going to have to back up. No creeps from Chen. Chen should go into the woods and grab another creep now. Oh, and looks like actually the Night Stalker, he's playing really aggressive here. I mean, I guess that's what he is supposed to do as a Night Stalker. He does have his boots up, so I mean, that'll be fine. He's just going to hit the Tide a little bit. Tide does have his ult, and yeah, Bane is just going to immediately ult this Night Stalker. So Night Stalker showing that he's playing way too aggressive here, actually. He's just going to go down. Chen teleport, definitely not coming in time. And meanwhile, speaking of free farm bottom, Benny has actually headed down here and is getting free farm of his own. Actually, Gloves of Haste and Power Tread, so it looks like he's probably not going to go for a Battle Fury build. Probably, it seems preferring the Midas build. Awful, again, actually out of position here. He should, yeah, he's going to Sandstorm. Let's see, there are not actually probably any sentries anywhere on the Dire here. Yeah, so it's going to be fine. Tide does decide just to burn his ult to kill the Sand King after all. So, well, that's going to be the death of him. Probably worth it. A lot of people would complain about an ult usage like that, but I mean, as long as you're getting a kill, I mean, you know, you're more efficient if you're always using the cooldown rather than not. And I mean, sure, if there's a team fight coming now, that would be less good. But if you get a kill and you can turn it into a tower anyway, then that should be fine. And in response to the other spectators' question of who has the upper hand, I'm going to take a look at the golden graph. Gold graph, 1,500 advantage for the Radiant. Nothing really too unexpected there. Ooh, looks like Benny is going on this Rasta bottom. Is he going to catch him? They both have upgraded boots. I'm not really sure who has more speed. Oh, and going to get the wards down. Not actually a ward trap. Benny's just going to decide to kill him first, and the wards are going to take his life. Oh, nice backtracks, but it's not going to be enough. Meanwhile, though, it looks like we've got a little bit of action top. Not actually anything going to happen. Just going to get forced back by the Sand King Sandstorm. He knows still that they have no sentries, no dust up, which is something they probably should bring themselves from the courier, so they don't have to burn a Tide ult again to kill him. But yeah, so anyway, gold advantage, basically what we would expect it to be, given that the Radiant took a tower early with the Chen, and then the experience slightly in favor of the Dire. So pretty much all even here. Queen of Pain, oh, the ult actually just barely missing the Lich, but Lich is going to go down to the Sand King Burrow Strike anyway. Queen of Pain still going to go down, though. A little bit unfortunate there, but Rasta going to TP and probably going to be able to catch this Tide. Yeah, Tide running off the side, so there's no way he's going to survive this. Although Benny is going to blink in, but does not have his ult or anything, so actually a little bit questionable here. No silence on the Night Stalker, but it doesn't really matter because Benny has already used his leap, and he is going to go down. Negative earn charge going to be enough to take his life. So a little bit of questionable leap in there from the Faceless Void. Not really sure what exactly he thought he would accomplish without having an ult and being, a Faceless Void this early in the game, but commendable nonetheless that he wants to help save his teammate. Burrow Strike there, I guess, just to juke the tower damage from Awful. Doesn't have Mana Boots yet, so a little bit quite interesting, but should be fine. Terminator, meanwhile, just farming up mid. Does have level 6 now, so we could see his ult. Windrunner maybe going to think about going on him. Yeah, he does want to go on him. The Shackle Shot is actually going to latch. Power Shot should be coming out now, but he's a little bit too slow on the Power Shot, and the Chen ult is actually going to come out and save his life. So I guess you force the Chen ult, so that's fine. Obviously, you're just using low cooldown abilities and not even that significant amount of mana, so worth it, but yeah, just unfortunate maybe if he'd power shot a little bit sooner and then tried going for one last hit afterwards. Speaking of trying to get kills, Bane is actually down here on bottom. He is going to have a nuke after. It looks like the range isn't going to quite reach. The Queen of Pain does manage to get out. I'm not sure if it would have been enough after all. No, probably not. Let's see. I think it's exactly 300 damage. Yeah, exactly 300 because it is pure damage. So Queen of Pain probably would have been fine there anyway. Unless he'd managed to get the sleep and then the nuke off, then maybe that would have been enough damage. So looks like we're going to have a little smoke gank roaming here from the Rasta and the Night Stalker. looking to pick off someone. They're going to see the Lich from behind, but it's actually going to be 2 running into 3, so they might overcommit here. Tide does have his ult, so yeah, intelligently enough, just back off. I'm really loving this play from the Night Stalker. Really never overcommitting, which I have to be happy with. Although now actually we're taking maybe a questionable route. Rasta is going to come up and throw the Hex on the Windrunner, so there's not going to be anything that comes of it. Chen with 1 creep up, the Catman. Chen doing a good job early on providing the harassment, but does need to worry about getting his creep numbers up here. He's level 6, so if I was him, I'd probably just go farm the jungle just for a little bit, just to get level 7 so I could have 3 creeps, and then I would start pushing with that. I mean, their team is supposed to push, so that's what they need to do. Whereas the Dire is just going to probably get more and more of an advantage as the game progresses, so I would hope to see something along those lines coming out from the Chen soon in order to give them some sort of an advantage. Does have 2 creeps up here now, doing a good job managing his creeps, at least to some extent, while also farming the jungle, though, so happy about that. But this is kind of this is the problem with the push lineup. They've got all 5 of theirs grouped up mid. Meanwhile, the Bane is, or the Void is just split farming. Yeah, split pushing, not really split farm. It's not really split pushing, but split farming top. And I assume he does have a TP, so if anything goes down at this mid tower that they still have, he can just TP in there. Looks like there's a little bit of that. Night Stalker, I think, pinging a couple times, does want to go in. He has the haste rune, so he's going to think about it. But the problem is, they're still just, they can't charge into the tidal. They're just going to get wrecked. Bane's ult also actually is up as well. Night Stalker decides to try coming around from the side, but still just not finding any opening. So yeah, just not going to be able to do anything about it. And we do have a good ward up here from the Dire, but it's actually going to fall down. And Benny is just going to TP bottom and start farming here. Almost has his Midas, which I assume is what that glove is going to go towards. I don't think he'll be going for an armlet on Void, I have to assume. You know, a little armlet Mask of Madness build, something like that. Mana Boots are up on the Sand King, and actually, yeah, I did want to spend a little time talking about items, because I saw a couple items that I was wondering a little bit about. Yeah, oh, Shackle Shot, great Shackle Shot from the range creep onto Rasta here. Rasta is going to go down with this Bane ult. Tide actually does throw out his ult after all. Rasta is surviving a little bit longer thanks to the Chen ult, but he's still going to go down in the end. Awful Burrow striking in, should actually start up his ult here, but decides not to, which is fine anyway, because nice sleep from the Bane. Lich ult bouncing around, but not actually really doing a ton of damage. Well, no, actually going to be enough to take down the Queen of Pain, get some really nice bounces there. But Night Stalker on the back end does manage to kill off the Lich. So we are going to have a 2-for-2 trade with a few ults used. Rasta didn't actually manage to throw down his ult before dying. So if he comes back up, and they could actually easily take this tier 1 tower here, which is what they should do. He should probably just, as soon as he gets back up, I assume he has a TP. Yeah, TP mid, throw down your wards, take down this tower. Awful. Looked like he was trying to get in position for a nice Burrow strike there, but not quite able to catch it. And unfortunately, the longer they sit here, the more Windrunner is just going to get these power shots off, which is going to make the push less good. So yeah, Rasta, just run in now, go throw up your wards. Well, I guess you don't even have a creep wave. Yeah, Chen really needs to have more creeps. He had a really good ult there, which is what partially saved them in that fight. Burrow Strike gonna come in on the Lich here. Rasta should shock him. Actually shock is off cooldown, but he's still gonna have enough to kill him anyway. And meanwhile, the Bane just uses a sap. Oh, nice trap there from the Chen, but a good ult from the Void. Catching 2, although at the same time, the Sand King ult is coming out. Sand King, nice Burrow Strike, Epicenter right into the middle of the Void ult, taking the Void down. Rasta, actually shackled by the Windrunner. Nice power shot going to come out here, but the stick charges are enough to keep him alive. Looks like they're just probably going to back off here. Ward should probably be focusing, no, maybe not the tower, because there's no creeps at the time. Yeah, with Creep Wave coming in here, they are going to end up taking this tower. Awful, actually, taking a little bit of tower damage there. Oh, and they're going to find the Windrunner here. Windrunner is not going to be able to escape from this. Burrow Strike from Awful is going to be enough to finish him off. So 13-7 the score. Little taunting coming out from the Rasta, who's probably mad because Windrunner is getting some really nice shackle shots, actually. Unfortunately, they weren't able to turn that into a advantageous fight, thanks to Awful just being on the very edge of that Void, of the Chrono. I think Chrono is what it's called. Chronofield? Yeah, Chronosphere. So, in being able to get a nice epicenter into Burrow Strike right on top of the Void and taking him out in the middle of his own ulti. So, great play by Awful there, actually. And so now that there's a little break in the action, I can actually talk about items. So, there were a couple things that interested me. Treads on the Night Stalker instead of phase boots. I think that's fine. Some people prefer phase boots, some people prefer treads. Nothing really wrong with that. But the Windrunner actually going power treads, I really don't like this. I think Windrunner should pretty much always be phase boots. It just gives you more positional play, letting you get in position better to land the shackle shots, although he really hasn't had too much trouble with it. But also, you know, your ult gives you max attack speed anyway, so you'd rather just have more damage, even though you don't use it on heroes that much, but still just having more damage would be preferable. And interesting here, they're going to smoke up, but the Centaur is going to be visible since he just took it, so that's not going to work out too well for them. I wonder if they see this ward here or not with the daytime vision. No, I don't think they did. So the ward is actually going to spot the Centaur running up here. They do ping the ward, though, so they probably know that it's there. Maybe they did get a glimpse of it. And it looks like they might actually catch this Tide out. Tide does have his ult again, 2 points in Kraken Shell, so he's going to be quite difficult to take down, going with a 2 Bracer build, which I kind of like. Tide really has played pretty well. Rasta actually way ahead of his team here, so Tide ult is going to flow. Oh, big Lich ult going to bounce around. The Chen creeps tanking a little bit of it. Bane ult going to come out on Chen. Chen is probably going to go down here. Yeah, he does go down. But in the meantime, Lich has fallen. Benitak going to blink in, or leap in, and it looks like there is no revelation here for the Sand King. Sand King does actually manage to bro strike himself into the trees, but no, there's going to be vision anyway. Power shot would have come out soon enough. So I guess, yeah, he could have stayed Sandstorm a little bit longer there, but there probably would have been nothing saving him, seeing as the Windrunner could have just power shot at him a couple more times. So again, just the ult combinations from the Dire proving a little bit too strong when the Radiant doesn't have really good positioning. Like that time they fought in the middle, they did a good job spacing things out and etc. But they're just kind of running and clumped up and just getting destroyed by the ults. But speaking of ults, Queen of Pain with a big ult hits all 4 along with the Scream, enough to take down the Tide. Shackle Shot was holding the Queen of Pain for a little while, but it's not going to be enough. Oh, great Chronosphere actually from the Void, going to hold off the Night Stalker for a little bit. Night Stalker should think about maybe popping Knight here. I mean, if he could catch this Bane, it would probably be worth it, although Bane is going to have another sleep, so probably not anything would come of it. Meanwhile, looks like the mid tower actually was not denied, did get taken down by the catapult. So I guess a little bit of distraction there. Great Chronosphere to save 1 or 2 lives by that Void. Meanwhile, the Night Stalker has gone for drums, so an interesting build on him. I guess if he's not getting the extra movement speed from the phase boots, he'd rather have it. He's going to get it from the drums. Meanwhile, the Rasta looks like he is going to be going for a BKB. Any other interesting pickups? Queen of Pain, I assume, yeah, going for an ult staff, Aghanim, so that'll be nice on her. Allowing her to spam that ult as much as she wants to kind of split push side lanes. Chen actually has taken the Centaur Outrunner, just running in here and tanking a little bit for the tower. Looks like I saw a Maelstrom. Yeah, Maelstrom actually up on Benny. So I guess I was wrong about the Midas. I didn't even think about that because it's such an unusual pickup for a Void. But we'll see if it can work out. I mean, it is kind of like a farming item, just like the Battle Fury, so we'll see. I mean, maybe it works out. I prefer the Battle Fury because it's going to give you the regen, which is going to make it easier to farm stacked creeps in the jungle. But, you know, the Maelstrom turns, I assume, into a Mulgineer is going to give him some nice pushing power as well, nice farming. So, you know, interesting enough, saying Holy is now playing. Maybe he disconnected for a second? I'm not really sure. Yeah, you guys probably can't even see that. I shouldn't even be talking about it too much. Yeah, there is going to be a pause, and so I'm going to take this opportunity in the pause to blow my nose. So excuse me for a second, guys. And I'm back. So this is going to give me maybe even a little bit more time to talk about item choices. One thing, the Tide did go 2 bracers, which I like. Is going to give him that early survivability, and he could have even turned one of those into drums, which I think no one else on his team is making. But at the same time, I'm not so happy with the power treads. With only one other set of mana boots on his team, that probably should be mana boots. I don't think you're going to have the Lich going mana boots anytime soon. Lich, who's been pretty much just ward bitching the entire game. Looks like Night Stalker maybe headed up top to try to gank the Void, but Void was already out of there, doing a good job using TPs to move around the map. Should actually probably be sending himself another TP from the courier right now if he can. Unfortunately, the problem is Void has basically no health, all damage items at this point. Oh, another Shackle Shot actually going to hold... wait, but Awful actually... Oh no, it latched actually the Skeleton, not the Sand King. I thought it held the Sand King, so good ult from the Sand King, but at the same time, a huge ult from the Tide along with the Lich ult, going to bounce around and kind of turn the tables a little bit. Sleep coming out on the Night Stalker, going to hold him down, but actually the Tide making the mistake of attacking the Night Stalker, so Night Stalker is able to just void him. Windrunner tries Shackle Shotting one of the skeletons onto the Radiant there, but not able to catch it. Meanwhile, Benny in the back end is able to pick up a kill on the Shadow Shaman. Terminator nuking the Void once, but it's not going to be enough. Speaking of Void being thrown out on the Bane, but Bane retaliates with a little life sap. I'm pretty sure that's what that's called. Oh, a regen rune top. Oh, he's got to have seen that. With a bottle, there's no way he shouldn't have gone and picked that up, but no, guess not. It is life sap, brain sap. Yeah, my bad. So overall, actually a favorable team fight there for the Dire. Just again, that ult combination is proving so difficult to push into. They really need to make sure they have plenty of Chen creeps to tank the ult from the Lich there, which was not too bad. I mean, they had the skeletons even up, which are going to tank some of the hits if they can, etc. And I thought the Shackle Shot was better than it was. Well, not really his fault. It just completely random that the Shackle Shot actually hit the skeleton instead of the Sand King, which would have prevented the epicenter and made it an even more favorable team fight for the Dire. But Dire is going to smoke up here and go for a Roche kill, which they're probably going to be able to get. Nullstone disabled, so I would expect to see the Tide throwing out the Gush sometime soon here to reduce the armor. no focus fire yet on the Windrunner, so not able to bring that down. And it looks like the Radiant really doesn't have any clue what's going on here. So this is going to be a clean steal. And meanwhile, Chen does have one creep up. I mean, he's been playing good team games so far, but he really just needs to make sure he gets 3 creeps up so they can just push. I mean, they're kind of going past their what is it? Horizon? I can't even think of the word. I mean, basically the sweet spot in the game in which they can push and take towers and get an advantage. I mean, if you look, they still do have a significant gold advantage from the towers and experience advantage from the towers and kills that they're up on. But as the game progresses, the Dire is going to be more and more favored with this Void, who's just, I mean, it doesn't really have very good farm at this point. Now, let's take a look at gold per minute, actually. He's sitting on 317, which is not bad. Certainly not good. Just because actually the Night Stalker played a lot better than I would have expected. The Void should have farmed probably a little bit better in the mid. But he will pick that up with the Maelstrom now. I mean, that's going to increase his gold per minute significantly. And it is still the highest in the game, so it's just kind of in general a low gold per minute game because there's actually just been a lot of action. It's been a good game to commentate, you know? Meanwhile, though, Chen has picked up the creep army now, 3 centaurs. I guess it's probably unfair of me. He probably did have creeps before that team fight. It's just the Tide and Lich ults kind of demolished him. So it looks like they're going to try to bait something out here, but the Rasta is actually not in position. Looks like Benny is going to try to hop into the woods. No, he is going to go for the TP, so if Chen gets the stun, oh, just a second or half second too slow on the Centaur stomp there. A little bit unfortunate. The Rasta probably should have been a little bit more forward in position to get that disable off. I mean, I understood they kind of wanted to bait the leap. They expected him to leap further up the lane, and then they would come from behind and kill him. But probably could have been a little bit better position for that. Meanwhile, the Queen of Pain is actually just 1,000 gold off from finishing her Aghanims, which will be pretty big for her. Let's see what other items. Chen does have his mech up, so they've got a lot of healing. Oh, and they're actually, yeah, the Dire does place down a ward here, which is going to be spotted by the Radiant since they already have a sentry there. It's a little bit fortunate there. I'm sure they're going to want to go counter ward that while they still can. So it is night now. I'm not sure. Well, he's used his ult. It's sometimes hard to tell right now. No, I guess, yeah, it's actually real night, not fake night. So they're going to want to do something here sometime soon. Looks like he is going to be going for a BKB next item, which is fine. It could be an ult staff as well. An ult staff would be good because it would let them see where the Dire is to pick them off, hopefully with a gank. They are going to take down these wards here so that they can go into the jungle and gank. Although Bane is actually a little bit far up when he knows that these people are here. Although the Radiant deciding not to turn in, they didn't really know how many are there, and at the same time Windrunner has an invis, so going to be able to set up probably a great shackle shot right after the initiation of this fight, which is actually probably going to be very hazardous for the Radiant. If they do decide to fight at this time. The Invis is going to run out. Ooh, I didn't mean to click there. Invis is going to run out at some point, though, so I guess backing up is going to be fine for them. But yeah, if you take a look at it, they do have tower advantage. They've taken 3 tier 1 towers, while the Dire has only taken 1. But that's really not going to be enough at this point. I mean, you really need that Chen to kind of just be doing a little bit more. I mean, not that it's his fault, but you guys just, I don't know, they just need to be grouping up with Chen and trying to push. This is the problem that I have with running, you know, I mean, this is I don't want to say low skill in-house, but it's just an average skill in-house. I mean, you know, just friends, people who play for fun, certainly not pros or even semi-pros. And the problem is there's this timing where they just lack the coordination to pull off these ganks and pushes. Honestly, if I was them right now, what I would be doing is I'd be grouping up right around here or something, maybe even right here, and I would smoke up and then go for the gank. Looks like they are going to smoke up. Yeah, they got the smoke, and this is a good spot as well. So just actually waiting for this Queen of Pain to head on over there. But looks like she doesn't want to come. Instead, she wants to blink into the trees. Oh, she has her Aghanims finished, so they're just going to wait for that. Unfortunately, if you spend too much time, these creeps are going to come down here, and then the Dire might have a pretty good clue as to what's up. The Aegis is still up on Benny, and looks like he is going for BKB second item, which give him a little bit more health and survivability. Oh, and they smoke with the creeps here? Well, maybe the Dire didn't notice it. We'll see. Unfortunately, though, this means the Night Stalker is not smoked with them, so I'm not sure how effective this is going to be. We do have the smoke glitch bug. So yeah, let's see. They're going to see the Night Stalker with their ward here, but maybe they'll think it's just the Night Stalker, and the Radiant will get lucky. They'll come to gank the Night Stalker, and then they'll get a little surprise butt sex as the entire Radiant team is there and blows them up, especially with this Queen of Pain Aghanims. Although the Queen of Pain Aghanims isn't going to help that much in a single team fight, it's just going to help in sustained team fights or counter pushing, etc. Smoke is about to wear off now, though, and there is a sentry here from the Dire, so if they move past here, it's going to be seen. They're trying to skirt around it, but it's not going to happen, and the Dire is going to see it, but at the same time, Queen of Pain is trying to start something. Chen sending his creeps in. We'll see if we... Oh, nice stun from the Chen. He does get his ult off, maybe a little prematurely. The Lich ult bouncing around. Unfortunately, Awful gets stuck up there. Big Tide ult coming out. Oh, huge Chronosphere. Oh my god, this could just be the end for the Radiant here. If only he had Battle Fury here, he would have been doing so much damage, but wow, just gets completely melted from the Queen of Pain ultimate. Windrunner sitting on the side the entire time, trying to do a little bit of damage. Does have Shackle Shot up, so should probably be Shackle Shotting someone. Meanwhile, it is still 2 for 2, but the Aegis did go down, so slightly advantageous for the Radiant at this point, which, you know, is probably good enough given how big that Chronosphere was. Benny thinking about leaping back in maybe on this low HP Chen, but no, going to back out. So a little bit early on the Chen ult there, and then just bad job grouping up by the Radiant, getting all caught in that Chronosphere. Just so painful. I mean, I thought that would actually be even worse for them than it was, but fortunately they'd already taken out a couple of heroes, and they didn't have a lot. And, you know, I mean, Bane is a really good hero at disabling, but, you know, when they're in the Chronosphere like that, it's not like he has a lot of raw DPS. I mean, he ults someone and he brain saps someone, but it's not that much. He's more of, you know, he's more of a disabler, kind of keeping team fights on your terms rather than the opposing terms, rather than a flat-out damage output. And he was one of the few heroes caught outside. Him and the Windrunner. And the Windrunner, obviously, power shotting from the side was not insignificant. But the biggest problem was that he just didn't. The Bane or the Void just didn't have enough damage to have taken down all those heroes. I mean, if he'd had a Battle Fury there, God, that would have just been insane. Not that I'm necessarily criticizing his choice. I mean, I understand he didn't farm maybe as well as he wanted to, and that's why he didn't go for the Battle Fury. Also, I guess maybe if he just finished the Molchenier, I'm not sure if he should do that. I mean, it might be a little bit greedy, but if he'd had it there, God, if he'd gotten some nice procs off, he could have done so much AoE damage to the Radiant and potentially really turned that team fight for them. But meanwhile, Gold still sitting steady at about 5,000, experience almost back down to 0. So this is, like I said, going to favor the Dire the longer the game goes, and they are going to get a tower now, which is going to help the Gold even more. Probably going to give the last hit to the Void, yep. And they do manage to do that. Meanwhile, though, the Radiant is going to push the mid, so they should take down this tower. Let's see if the Dire decides to try to trade towers. They do all have TPs, intelligently enough, so there's no problem with that. If this tower is going to go down, we'll have to see if they decide to go for 2. I mean, they've still got the Rasta wards, so they should be thinking about it, but at the same time, I think they see this tier 2 tower sitting top, and they want to rotate and take that. But this is actually not so terrible for the Dire here, because Benny is just going to be... Oh, wait! A little bit of... no, not going to catch the Windrunner. Windrunner just too fast, and with the Force Staff, able to force herself out. But Benny is going to probably be able to solo take this tower down bottom, so I'm not sure that this is the most worthwhile trade ever. I mean, yeah, they're getting towers, but if they're giving up towers at the same time and giving them up to a carry who's just free farm pushing the lane, not really sure if that's worth it. One TP going to come in is the Night Stalker, who Benny actually does have to be afraid of. You got to make sure he turns around and denies this tower. No, actually, he is going to go for the Void, which is probably worth it if he can get this kill. Unfortunately, the tower does go down and is not denied, and Void is going to have another leap in just a couple seconds, but the Void is going to come out first from the Night Stalker, and it's going to lead to the kill. So that was worth it. Shackle Shot actually on the top, not going to latch, but the Bane ult is going to be enough to hold the Chen in place. Tide maybe a little bit early, premature on that ult. I'm not sure exactly what his ult accomplished there. I think they were going to get the Chen anyway, and I'm not so sure they're going to get the Queen of Pain regardless. Oh, but the Shackle Shot is going to latch. Great Shackle Shot from the Windrunner, and that is going to be enough. Blink was just coming up off cooldown, just barely not in time. And unfortunately, we still have a Rasta who hasn't used his wards. I would say one of my, I mean, I was talking about the Chen maybe not doing as good of a job as he should, making sure he had 3 creeps up, but he has done a good job of that. So now what I would like to see a little bit better of is just more aggressive uses of these wards. I mean, they've taken towers uncontested, so I understand why you're not dropping down the wards there, but like maybe not turning around. Well, they had to blink down to take, or TP down to take the Void out to prevent him from farming and taking the tower, although the tower did get taken anyway. So I mean, I kind of understand what happened there. It's just slightly unlucky, or I don't know, just, well, it's not necessarily unlucky because it's all an issue of coordination. But at this level of play, it is just kind of timing and things like that. Anyway, looks like the Night Stalker does. Yeah, he's just going to come in here and pick up a TP. Still basically sitting on the exact same items he was before, and actually hasn't used any drum charges. But I'm sure any of you who've watched my videos before know that I am terrible at effectively using drum charges. There are 2 things to it. One, that I just kind of forget about them, and the other is that kind of like the RPG gamer in me, like when I have some sort of ooh, wow, I didn't even see this. Good job, I assume, by the Lich actually stacking up these creeps. Unfortunately, because he doesn't have a Battle Fury, the lightning procs aren't going to be that effective at taking down these creeps. So again, I don't know. Probably would have just gone Battle Fury, brah. Oh god, you people are going to hate me for saying brah, but he probably won't. Maybe he will too. But with the Frost Armor, they are still going to be able to take these down slowly but surely. So nice stack there is going to, help continue to catapult them into the farm. He has finished his BKB as well, so I assume after the BKB he's going to go finish the Molchenier. I have to assume. just to get more damage from that, the AoE damage, and being able to put the static charge up on someone like Tide certainly won't hurt. Let's see. Chen is working towards his Aghanims as well. See if we have any other interesting item pickups. Awful on the Sand King has picked up his Blink Night Stalker. Yeah, BKB actually finished, so decided to go for the BKB, not the ult staff. It's perfectly reasonable given all the magic disable or magic damage and disables on the Dire. BKB also finished on the Rasta, so does have the BKB, just needs to pick up his Blink now too for some nice initiations, which they can turn into tower kills, and the Queen of Pain still just sitting on her Aghanims. Meanwhile, for the Dire, Benny actually deciding to go for a Morbid Mask now. Not sure. I guess maybe these work together. I thought it was maybe on their range creep. I don't know. Some of these interactions I still forget, but I was pretty certain that Lifesteal does not work with Maelstrom. So someone can correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe I will see soon enough. Let's see. Is he actually going to get any lightning procs now? I haven't seen any yet, so I'm thinking that doesn't work. So maybe he just wants Mask of Madness just for the attack speed bonus to get even more lightning procs, but I don't know. A little bit questionable there. Looks like Tide has, yeah, he's going to go for their pipe. That's what I would have guessed a while ago. And the Lich almost has the mech finished. Meanwhile, Windrunner working towards the Hex, and Holy actually does have his Sacrificial Stone done. Yep, Bloodstone. Sacrificial Stone is from another game, which we need not mention. But yeah, so I guess maybe he just wanted the lifesteal to try to take these stacks as well. Unfortunately, the Radiant, let's see, are they going to smoke up here? I would really like to see a smoke up. If they smoke up and run in here, it'd be tough because the Dire does have the high ground and they do have the Tide ult, so I'm actually not so sure that would go well for them. But at the same time, maybe if they catch him off guard enough and they just nuke down the Tide initially, he doesn't even get the ult off. It doesn't actually have the cloak on him. I'd much rather see him carrying around the cloak than the Ring of Regen. Obviously, just having that extra magic resistance, certainly not irrelevant against a lot of magic damage coming out from the Sand King, the Queen of Pain, the Rasta, Night Stalker, etc. But it's really in the Radiant's court now to try to do something. There's only one Tier 2 tower left, so I mean they've taken the outer towers as much as they can, but they've got to try to set up a gank so that they can push in and take the racks. Looks like they are going to catch the Tide out here, but it's only 3 of them, and there's going to be 4 of the Dire here, so I'm not so sure this is going to go so well. And yeah, Holy is just going to come in and throw down his ult. Meanwhile, though, getting disabled, what looked like a good ward trap, but it's actually not going to be. Tide ult is going to fly out. Shackle Shot going to latch the Queen of Pain into the trees, which is probably going to be enough to take him down, although Awful coming in with a big ult, going to take down Holy at the same time. Meanwhile, the Lich actually has gone down to a DD Night Stalker. Benny going to blink in, throws down the Chrono. Chrono catching 2 of the Radiant, and I actually think 1 of the Dire. Meanwhile, the Night Stalker, though, with the double damage, is going to take down the Tide. Benny actually just not really able to do too much here, and unfortunately fighting next to the wards. As soon as that BKB comes off, he's going to be in a little bit of trouble. Oh, but a nice Shackle Shot from the Windrunner. Windrunner force-staffing herself away with the Rin Run, but at the same time, it looks like we're going to have a fair amount of damage taken by this Dire tower here. Bane will be back up in 1 second. Yeah, he is going to be back up, but I'm not sure how much he's going to be able to hold against 4 of the Radiant. So really good job, actually. Basically, just a huge ult from Awful, kind of able to turn that fight around. I mean, he only hit 1, but it was nice. And the Night Stalker just did a good job surviving there. His BKB ended up being a good pickup. Again, just not overcommitting here. He throws up the disables on... Oh, but a Shackle Shot actually going to latch the Night Stalker to the Rasta. Awful actually tries to stun in, but doesn't hit anything. The Radiant really wants to take this Rax here, but it looks like they're not going to be able to take it. They're going to have to back out here, or they're going to be feeding kills. Oh, Shackle Shot, not going to latch anything. Benny does blink in. Chen TP, is it going to be in time? Chen uses the mech. Oh, and the TP out just barely. Great play by Chen there. Going to cost his own life, but definitely worth it to save the Night Stalker. Who knows, maybe he'll make it out. No, the drum charge actually is going to be popped off now. Is that another set of drums? Oh no, that's actually just the buckler, not the drums. I guess I confused one or the other. I'm not really sure that buckler was that important there, but you never know. I guess if the Chen turns around and tries to fight you, that slight damage block will do something. Queen of Pain actually still hasn't picked up any items since getting the Aghanim, so a little bit slowed down on the farm, which isn't what you'd necessarily expect. Normally the Aghanim is going to make your farm faster, not slower. It's kind of a farming type item. So if you take another look at the gold per minute, the highest gold per minute in the game actually is now on that Night Stalker. Oh no, sorry, on the Void still. So basically just the same situation we were in with the Night Stalker, or Void being just slightly higher than the Night Stalker. And then the Queen of Pain coming in 3rd and Windrunner in 4th. So pretty much even gold per minutes overall. And unfortunately, the Dire just taking their Dire advantage and going to take another Roche kill. And there's not anything the Radiant's going to be able to do about this. Well, except for kill a Lich. Let's see, negative urn charge? No, it doesn't have any, but the Void is going to come up in 1 second. And that's going to be enough to take the Lich down. I wonder if they're going to want... See? Oh, and he is going to run in with his BKB here. Unfortunately, it is not Night, so I don't know how effective it's going to be. Rasta throwing down the wards, though. They're kind of not focusing the same targets. They need to all focus one target here, but the damage is just being split around a little bit too much. Queen of Pain with a big ult, though, is going to take out the Tide. The Void ends up having to blink out, and the Rasta wards are probably going to be enough to take down this Roche kill. Wow, so good play by the Radiant after all, even though they didn't focus very well there. And yeah, Queen of Pain is going to take up the Aegis. I wonder maybe that they could have given it to the Night Stalker, but I guess Night Stalker's been doing a good enough job not getting killed in these fights that it's been fine. And it looks like instead of going for an Alt Staff, he is going to go... I don't know if you guys hate me calling it Alt Staff, Aghanims, whatever. Instead of going for an Aghanims, he is going to go for a Assault Curious here. So that's going to be a nice item. It's going to help them push even more, giving the negative damage, or negative armor to the enemy structures and giving their creeps the attack speed and everything in the armor. So a nice pickup from him. Or will be a nice pickup from him. I think he just spent some of the gold, but there's no way he can have all of it. It looks like the Knight just hit, and then he used his ult at the same time. I would assume. I wasn't actually paying that much attention. Windrunner is going to try to latch Shackle Shot here. Actually has her Hex finished, so she's going to throw out the Hex first. The Shackle Shot actually does not latch to anything, and Chen was in position to TP out the Night Stalker, even if he was in trouble. So nice play there. The Night Stalker actually being a little bit aggressive here, running kind of into 4 heroes, and this is going to cost me the nice 2 bashes from the Void, and the Night Stalker is just going to die. So after I've complimented the Night Stalker so much for his not being too aggressive this game, does kind of Rambo in questionably there. I don't know if he expected Terminator to be in position to TP him out or what. Probably something like that, but I'm not really sure. Anyway, a big creep wave is actually going to be coming down here from the Radiant, but there is no siege creep, so it's probably not going to be enough to take this tower. And meanwhile, looks like he's going to be heading over there. The Dire, with the Night Stalker dead, does want to push this. They have their ults up, and what item is that? Yeah, he's going for now. I'm not exactly sure, but I guess we'll see at some point. I wish I knew, actually. Let's take a look in the shop. Show and shop. Oh, I guess Chrysalis. Yeah, that's what it is. God, honestly, it's just an item I don't really build very often, so I guess that's why I'm not used to it. So yeah, he's going to be going for Chrysalis. I'm interested to see. Yeah, the Chrysalis is actually finished now. Interested to see that he is deciding to go that instead of finishing the Mulgineer. I'm not really sure why. I mean, I guess this is probably more raw damage output, but maybe don't you want the AoE damage? I don't really know. Anyway, it looks like they are going to take down this tower. Night Stalker still 15 seconds left before he gets back, so there's no way they're going to contest this without their one of their key heroes. And the Dire's going to be happy to take that tower and just going to back up. Still, though, the Radiant does have the Aegis on Queen of Pain, and looks like, yeah, she has picked up a Mystic Staff. She is going to be going for that Hex now, I assume. I don't think she'll be going for Shiva's. At least I would hope not. I think the Hex will be much more important to keep down the Void. And looks like the pipe is almost done for the Tide, which will actually be really huge for the Dire. I mean, there's a lot of magic damage, which has been what's turned these fights around. Between the big Queen of Pain ults or the big Sand King ults, if they can get a good pipe off, it's actually going to go a long way towards making these fights favorable for them, which haven't necessarily been unfavorable. If we take a look at the gold, yeah, 7,500. So still a little bit more of an advantage they had from before, but they really need to get one set of racks by now. So they're going to have to get wards up. I mean, they have a good ward here, but unfortunately they don't. They need to kind of counter ward in this area here, and here, and here. Like, basically they need to make sure that all that is counter warded so that they can run in and gank the woods. Well, actually not really here so much. I don't know why I pinged that. Or I didn't ping that, I painted on that. Hold on 1 second, I'm going to take a drink of water. And I'm back. But anyway, yeah, it looks like the Void is just farming up in the jungle. So, yeah, interesting Void build. I would say if I had to say a standard Void build, I would say Battle Fury into Manta, into Hard or something like that. I mean, maybe BKB if you need it. BKB is pretty good against this team here, so I can understand picking that up. This Radiant team here is what I mean. Meanwhile, Queen of Pain just farming. Probably really wants to get this Hex before their next engagement if she can. Meanwhile, there's a fair amount of farm top. Looks like Awful is going to go for the Shivas. Before that, he went for an Ogre Club and then a Plate Mail. I'm not sure which one of these he bought first, actually. So if you bought the Ogre Club first, he's going to be going for Shivas now. And if you bought the Plate Mail first, maybe he's going to be going for BKB, or maybe he's going to be going for the Aghanims. Looks like he's TPing out immediately because they have no vision in that area. This ward, actually, I guess it's alright. I mean, I think if you put it up the hill here, it would see basically everything you wanted here, although I'm not very familiar with placing that ward, so I don't really know. Interesting, though, that they're putting defensive wards like this and like this one here when they're the ones who need to be on the offensive. It just kind of shows the tonal shift in the game. I mean, they have the Aegis. Oh, and Night Stalker actually is going to get caught by the Bane ult, but the Bane ult is actually going to be quickly dispelled by Rasta throwing out a Hex. Rasta actually now BKB'd up. Unfortunately, the Bash is going to come out for him. Chen, big ult. Meanwhile, Night Stalker is actually killing off people on the other end. Big Tide ult, big SK ult, lots of ults coming out here, but the Void ult is going to actually trap the Queen of Pain before she can get her ult off. She does get her ult off as well, but the Void does have his BKB up now, so the Queen of Pain's not going to be able to finish it off with anything. Meanwhile, they're just all basically trying to right-click down this Void. They did fight near the wards long enough that the Void did take a fair amount of damage. Shackle Shot actually going to come out from the Windrunner on the Night Stalker, but it doesn't really matter. They're going to have to keep running. Sand King is going to try to get a stun. He's going to look to stun up the hill there, but no, the Windrunner runs up to the left, and I don't know if they're going to catch it. Yeah, she's going to TP out now, and the Hex is actually not even done from the Queen of Pain, so they're not going to catch the Windrunner there. So not a terrible fight. Actually, Night Stalker still chasing after this Void. Wow, he might actually catch him. We'll see if the Void can manage to juke him. Night Stalker, run up. No, he's going to run to the creeps. Okay, well, not going to catch the Void there, but he does actually have his Assault Curious finished up. So I would assume he's going to finish off these creeps and then come take this tower. So let's see how that team fight. Yeah, basically, just the same story this entire game has been, basically perfectly even, which shows that I, who was responsible for setting up the teams, am awesome for making the teams this even. So pat myself on the back for that one. No big deal. But anyway, it looks like the tower's pretty low, but the defense is going to come. Windrunner is going to be down here. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough to scare off the Night Stalker or not. Yeah, it looks like it is. Unfortunately, the catapult is going to hit the tower, so it might put it in deny range, actually. We'll see. Oh, Queen of Pain actually, yeah, I think just blinking out. And yeah, it looks like they're going to let the catapult actually hit it down as much as possible so that they can deny this tower. And then they're going to, I assume, deny it. Oh, it would be hilarious if, no, the catapult does not get the last hit. So they're going to deny that tower, unfortunately. I mean, it is still another tower taken down, so now the Dire has no outside towers, and the Radiant only has one. But I don't know, the Radiant really needs to... I mean, they're up technically 2 towers because they have taken a base tower. They really need to just, I don't know, go push and take this base. I'm not really sure. Well, Chen certainly, yeah, needs to deny this creep right away, which he does. Looks like, yeah, he's going to get a Satyr. Satyrs are so terrible, especially at this point in the game. I mean, earlier on they're okay, but right now they're awful. And speaking of awful is actually not on the Dire, but we are going to have a 5-man smoke gank coming in from the Dire. Looks like, oh, Queen of Pain's going to blink right into it, and she is just screwed. Just screwed, and that is the Aegis, unfortunately. And if the Dire is good about this, they will actually catch her when she comes back up. We'll see if she can blink out. No, an instant Hex from the Windrunner. Bane going to throw out his ult, and yeah, this is going to be a really dead Queen of Pain. So unfortunately, the Aegis completely wasted there. Queen of Pain, yeah, I don't know. When you're moving back like this and you don't have any vision, like basically anywhere in this map, I don't know if I turn my mouse off or not. So I guess I have to do this anywhere here. When you have no vision anywhere like that, then you know, you really can't just be blinking into your woods. You really have no idea where the other team's going to be. I mean, I guess even if they had vision, then the smoke gank still would have worked. But in this case, you didn't have vision, so you really need to be more careful. So it's going to be 40 seconds until the Queen of Pain's back up. And it looks like the Dire is going to try to push this in. Daedalus almost finished on the Void. So that is going to be his next item pickup. Overall, yeah, I guess he really just wanted the Morbid Mask so that he could tank or manage those ancients. And actually, yeah, a Basher picked up the Night Stalker. I don't really like this too much, buying a big item right before a fight at your base, but I guess they consider that they're kind of on the back foot now and they really need to do something. So if they don't win this team fight, it's not going to be going very well for them. But when there's a fight at your base towers like this, you really need to have buybacks. Some nice change stuns by the Chen there, and he's going to probably come in and get a nuke from the Satyr as well. Maybe not. Yeah, Rasta is just going to blink out. Looks like there's going to be a lot of pressure thrown out on this tower here. I'm actually casting a game right now. So Pipe is going to be popped by the Dire here. Night Stalker running in the backside. It does throw up his BKB and is going to try to focus down the Lich right away before the Lich can get the ult off. Lich actually doesn't get the ult off, and a big epicenter from the Sand King. Tide throws out his ult as well, but it's actually going to be enough to buy a little bit of time for the Void to throw out his ult of his own. But meanwhile, the wards are up, and the Void is just going to get melted. Chen actually TPing out the Night Stalker. That was not very good because the Night Stalker would actually be able to continue chasing here and get some more kills. The Bane is going to go down anyway, but maybe they would have been able to get both if the Night Stalker hadn't been TP'd out there. So I don't know. I guess he thought that maybe the Void would do more damage to him than he did. I don't know if the Void had gotten one big crit, maybe that would have been the case, but it wasn't. And looks like the pings from the Radiant are going to show that they want to go take this mid-rax. So I guess the Basher purchase, after all, worked out. Maybe that was part of why he was able to take down the Lich so quickly, and the Lich going down without getting his ult off was a big factor in that team fight. I mean, Lich is only level 13, so the ult's not huge, but it definitely hurts. So the suicide, well, not necessarily suicide push, but I mean, I say suicide push almost to describe how quickly, the rapidity with which they're just charging into this base, trying to take down these racks. He doesn't want to charge too far, though, here. Just focus the racks, dude. Come on. Shackle Shot not going to latch. Queen of Pain going to get a ult off. And a Scream as well. Hexes the Lich. Oh, but the Night Stalker actually voids the wrong target. I assume the wrong target. But anyway, they really just need to make sure they get those racks. But I guess this has been enough of a distraction. They did get the 1 racks. I think they need to back out now because the Void is going to be back up. Shackle Shot not going to latch anyone. But Bane is going to ult the Queen of Pain. Honestly, they should just let the Queen of Pain die at this point. I don't really, well, actually, no, they shouldn't. They should TP out the Queen of Pain. Chen should have TP'd out the Queen of Pain. That's what should have happened there. Instead of TPing out a Night Stalker who doesn't need it, you should have TP'd out the Queen of Pain who is in need. But they do back up intelligently rather than giving away more kills. So they do get the racks that they need, but again, it's 46 minutes, and to take your first racks with a push team, I mean, you could say that it's not necessarily a huge push team, but I don't know, they really don't have the carry power to, as this goes much later, to really win this game. I mean, Night Stalker isn't certainly not a bad carry, but he's not going to compete with Void. But at the same time, Void just doesn't, I don't know, Void doesn't have health. I mean, he's still at 1600 health. He just dies. Needed to have a heart by now, I think. His Daedalus is probably flying out to him, and they are going to get Roche. Just dire advantage. Well, honestly, it's not necessarily just, well, it is a little bit dire advantage, but it's also the fact that, I mean, the Queen of Pain dying there, if the Queen of Pain hadn't died, maybe they could have stayed a little bit more active on the map than backing all the way up like this. At the same time, when you back up, you need to place down the wards, which is part of the problem. Honestly, they haven't had very good warding from the Radiant so far this game, which, I don't know. I mean, it's a problem when Chen is your only support, because Chen has to spend a lot of time focusing on making sure that he's keeping his creeps up and pushing, so he doesn't have a ton of time to be warding as well, because, you know, after a push like this, when his creeps die, his first priority is to go back into the woods to get more creeps so they can push again. But I guess when he falls back, he should try to drop wards on the way, but I mean, I know this is sometimes easier said than done. Actually, there was a lifesteal on the lightning proc, so maybe it does work together. Maybe, yeah, no, I guess it does work together. I was wrong. So I guess it was just unlucky when I watched, and I am kind of an idiot. Queen of Pain, yeah, doing what she can do now with the ult staff and farming. She does have her Hex up, as we saw earlier in the base of the Dire, where she hexed the Lich. And looks like, yeah, we are going to have another smoke up here, I assume? Or no, just some group jungle farming. We do have Cheese up on Holy, and Benny does have the Aegis. Benny is going to do an insane amount of damage, but again, I mean, if he gets taken out very quickly, it's not going to matter. We'll see. It really just all comes down to how big of an ult he can get, which is something that should be kind of easy for them to set up with the Tide. Yeah, Tide, I saw, does have the smoke coming for them now, so they're going to try to smoke up and gank. Very intelligent. That's what you should be doing at this point in the game. And yeah, Teal is kind of pointing out that there are just no wards on the map. They have no vision basically anywhere, and this is a bit of a problem. I mean, at this point in the game, you can't just have this amount of vision. They basically, look, I mean, they just have to sit in their base like this, because the other team could be smoked up, they could not be smoked up, but actually they are going to smoke themselves. So if you're sitting in your base and you have nothing to do, the solution is to smoke. But I think if these two teams clash, both smoke, that is going to favor the Dire, because they have more kind of, you know, ults that can just suddenly turn a fight, whereas the ults which have been helping out, well, the Radiant win fights, stuff like the Sand King ult, yeah, so he did go for the Aghanims, by the way. Sand King ult requires a little bit more setup. But at the same time, looks like, yeah, so the Dire is going to smoke up. Interestingly enough, they smoke up right here. If I was the Radiant, when I took these racks, I would have placed a ward right here. So actually, I'm not so, well, actually, when I took the tower, I would have placed a ward there. So I'm not so sure that's the best place to smoke. But it's going to work out. We are just going to have basically two birds crossing in the night. The smoke does wear out for the Radiant, and they find no one. The Dire doesn't have any wards up that see them coming out of this, though, and the Radiant is going to head down here. The problem is that, well, both teams are kind of out of position, and I wonder who can actually push faster if we go into a base race scenario. But no, the Dire doesn't decide to do that because the bottom lane's pushed up too far, and so they are going to head back towards the mid, maybe try to look in the Ancients area and stuff like that. Yeah, down here in these neutral creeps, and not seeing anyone. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all... Oh, and the ward actually does spot the Dire here, so this is actually going to give the Radiant a good opportunity to try to get a good engagement here. Let's see, does the Night Stalker... He does have his ult up, so he can actually make it night when they fight here. He shouldn't have actually shown both these illusions. He should have just shown one, and maybe they would have actually baited some ults out or something, because I'm sure the Bane would have been happy to use his ult right away. I mean, it's not an extremely long cooldown, but I think something like that, using one of those illusions as a bait by itself, rather than running with both of them, would have been a really nice play there. Meanwhile, though, the creep wave has pushed into the Dire's base, so they understand they need to back up. There's no way they're going to do anything with this because they know they're illusions. And they do throw a ward up here as well. I assume the Radiant had to see that ward being placed, so I've got to assume there's going to be a counter ward coming up now. I mean, when you have a ward of your own there, there's no way you can expect there not to be... there's no way you can not have seen them placing the ward if you're paying attention. And it looks like Queen of Pain is going to be going for that Veil, an item which I don't particularly like that much, but certainly isn't terrible. And I mean, it's pretty good on the Queen of Pain. Although, I don't know, I might prefer to have some sort of a defensive item. I mean, so far she has a fair amount of health from everything she gets from the Aghanims and the Hex. So, I mean, it's not like she's missing health, but something, well, I don't really think she needs a BKB. If I was her, I probably might have gone first item Lincolns, though, in a game like this. Although there is a lot that can disable the Lincolns, but at the same time it blocks a lot, too, which, I mean, makes it effective and non-effective. So, I mean... fair point either way, and the Veil combined with the Sand King ult could really be huge, so, I mean, yeah, go big or go home, right? Especially at this point in the game. But yeah, she's going to farm up that Veil pretty quickly. Meanwhile, the Radiant does get one ward out right here. It's not going to do a whole lot. I mean, I understand at this point the Radiant doesn't really want to push into Cheese and Aegis, and I can't really blame them for that. So, I mean, their passivity at this point is kind of okay. But again, it's just going to hurt them in the long run. Yeah, I guess there has been Blink and Hex, or Blink and BKB on the roster for a while. Let's take a look. First, the gold graph, basically exactly the same as where it's been for a while. And the experience, yeah, well, 5,000 experience at this point in the game doesn't really mean too much. Neither does the gold. So let's see. Yeah, Veil is actually finished on the Queen of Pain. I assume the Night Stalker is probably working towards an Abyssal to really lock down that Void who just has no HP. Although Void probably going to start looking to pick up his heart, I would assume, at some point here. Maybe going to sell that Morbid Mass. No, it sells his treads? No, it drops his treads. And finishes the Mulliganeer. Okay, so it does finish up his Mulliganeer, which is fine, but now he really needs to get health. I mean, 52 minutes having 1,600 health on a Void is not amazing. I mean, he does have an Aegis now, so it's okay at this point, but after this, I would expect to see him pick up something like that. Windrunner actually has gone for an Assault Curious. So to counter the Assault Curious of the Night Stalker, the Windrunner has actually picked up one of her own. I can safely say that is the first time I have ever seen a Windrunner with an Assault Curious. I'm not saying it's bad either, it's fine, it's just unusual. Other than that, not really any interesting pickups. I assume the Sand King will be close to getting his Shivas pretty soon here. Based on the amount of gold he has, I've got to think that there is something. No, maybe not on the courier. I guess he just hasn't gotten any farm for a little while. Yeah, he's been buying wards. And looks like they are going to have a defense at this base tower here. The Dire wants to push this out knowing that they're down a lane. That's really kind of getting to them. Even though I don't think it should necessarily as much. I think a passive game is perfectly fine for them, even if they're down one racks. But yeah, if they push in here, it could actually hurt them quite a bit if the Radiant does manage to get a good setup. Sand King in a nice position here, looking to set up a good ult. I'm gonna have a drink of water. Hopefully nothing breaks out. Shackle Shot coming out from the Windrunner. This is a great thing about having Windrunner is in situations like this where you kind of got the standoff, you can just throw out these low mana cost, low cooldown Shackle Shots, which can be great initiation if they latch an important hero. Meanwhile, though, Night Stalker sitting around over on the side here. Actually smoked up. Were there more smokes? No, it was just him smoking up. He just wanted to get out of the base. Unfortunately, though, this tower's getting pushed, so they're going to have to do something soon here. The pipe is actually out from the Radiant, or from the Dire. So if the Radiant can, they should really wait for this pipe to wear off. But the Void is going to try to force the issue. Actually ults no one. So that's going to be really bad. I guess he saw the Sand King and wanted to catch the Sand King. So this is going to give, a Night Stalker running in on the back end. Doesn't actually have his, I guess his BKB just wasn't long enough at this point. Sand King actually going to come in with the ult, kind of hitting a few people. Yeah, and it is going to work out there because of the number of pulses he gets from having the Aghanims. Oh, Windrunner just barely making it away there. Really would have liked to get that kill. Meanwhile, Holy does actually use the cheese, so he's at full health. Void is actually getting shackle shotted under the wards, but he does hit just for a truckload of damage when he actually does manage to hit people. He did throw the static charge up on the Tide. Meanwhile, though, the Queen of Pain actually is going to need to blink out here. I assume the blink will be coming in 1 second. Although thinking not about it, actually he's going to say, oh, Scream. Oh, doesn't manage to get the Scream. Oh, but the stun from Awful is going to be enough to finish off the Void. Void is going to come back up with the Aegis in a second, though. Shadow Shaman actually buying back. He's going to TP right here, and he's going to try to hex someone. Does get the hex on the Void. They really want to get this Void kill here. The Veil of Discord actually is out, so they are taking extra magic damage, but it looks like they're just going to back up. No, Shackle is going to come out. Bane and immediately, oh my god, a huge Queen of Bane ult into the Awful stun. Wow, a great play from them. I thought they would actually be able to get out there, but an amazing play from the Radiant, from the Queen of Pain having that Aghanims on the short cooldown, and Awful just getting a nice stun in there. So good play by them, and they are going to try to look to push here. They do have a few heroes up. Unfortunately, the top lane is really pushed, but with 4 levels in Caustic, the Sand King will be able to push this out very quickly. Chen actually throwing out an ult as soon as he gets up. I assume he has Aghanims? Yeah, he does have the Aghanims up, so that's going to be fine. Let's see, do we have buyback money? We do not have buyback money. We do not have buyback money. Maybe is that? No. So there's actually not buybacks on any of the dead people, but all of them except Void are going to be up by the time they get into this base. Actually pinging Roche here, but Roche is not going to be up for at least a couple more minutes. I don't know the exact Roche timer because, as I've pointed out before, that's one of my weaknesses as a player. But yeah, nice buyback from the Shadow Shaman, which just shows the importance of always having buyback money, especially when fights are by your base. Yeah, and actually, I saw this as the fight was starting, but I didn't really have time to talk about it. Ghost Scepter actually up on the Night Stalker, so not a bad choice. Again, with the amount of right-click damage coming out from the Void, just being able to avoid all of that. Oh god. Being able to avoid. Yeah, I don't really know about it. I mean, dodge all that, but dodge isn't really the way you want to say it. Dodging is what, like, these people did by making me commentate instead of playing the game. Just kidding. Queen of Pain, just ult it. Yeah, there you go. Look at all that gold. Oh, it's just a beautiful thing. But yeah, he's going to be able to avoid all that, the right-click damage from the Void, while still being able to do a fair amount of damage with his nukes and silences and such. Looks like the Dire doesn't know that Roche isn't back up yet either. We do have wards up from the Radiant here. Actually, yeah, we're going to have one, which is going to give vision of everything going on here. The Dire throws down a ward as well. I assume they saw that, so I'd like to have that counter-warded. You know, counter-warding is nice, but I guess, like I said, they just don't necessarily have a dedicated support. But at this point, Chen has pretty much all the core items he needs, so he really could be looking to do a little bit more warding. I mean, his creeps aren't as important right now as actually vision on the map is. And a Vlad's actually picked up by the Void, so I guess that is a reasonable thing you can turn the Morbid Mask into. So I guess I've had a few bad calls on this Void's build, maybe giving him more shit than he deserves, but I don't know. I'm sure some people will back me up and other people will flame me for it. And I mean, like I said, I understood why he wanted the Morbid Mask at the time, because he wanted that lifesteal for taking down that Ancient stack, seeing as the lightning didn't actually do anything to him. And I mean, I guess the Molgenaire Void build is kind of an old school build. So yeah, anyway, running around here, Awful maybe wants to counter this. No, and Awful actually did finish up his Boots of Travel, actually, before going for Shiva's, which is fine. Although I would like to see him using that more to like push out side lanes like this and then TP back if there's a fight. But at the same time, when you don't have any vision on the map really, except for around Roche, which is an important place to have vision at this point because Roche actually is back up. But yeah, when you don't have any vision on the map, it's tough to push side lanes without knowing, you know, when the gank is coming. Because if you get picked off, it's really a huge deal. If you don't, especially if you don't have buyback money. So Nightstalker actually is top. He does not himself have travels though, so he's gonna have to run down here. It is night though in the beginning of night, so he's not even gonna need to use his ultimate. Looks like, yeah, Chen is going to just send the creep in here, wants to see if they're going for Roche yet, and the Dire actually wants to basically know the exact same thing. The Dire is going to stand up on this cliff here, which, again, is just the Dire advantage. Oh, and Void actually is going to blink in, uses ult, but is just going to catch the Chen. Rasta is going to Hex. Oh, and Lich actually going to throw the ult out here, but Awful counter-initiating with a great epicenter. Meanwhile, Nightstalker in the back end has his BKB up, is trying to do damage to the Void, but the Void pops his BKB and the static charge on himself, and is actually going to be quite difficult to take down here. Nightstalker is actually going to get shackled to the tree, so yeah, good start there from the Radiant, but kind of a poor follow-up to it, just focusing on the I don't know, the BKB'd up Void too much, but the Queen of Pain actually, wanting that kill so badly. At least I wanted him to get that kill. Meanwhile, the Dire is going to actually have to TV back to defend this huge push coming out here. Yeah, I mean, I guess I can't necessarily fault the Radiant for trying to focus on the Void, because like I've already said multiple times, the Void doesn't have any health. But just with that static charge up on him, he's just doing damage, and I don't know. I really felt that like that fight could have been a little bit more favorable for the Dire or for the Radiant there, and I think maybe I'm going to get a little criticism because I'm calling maybe too many things big ults, especially from the Sand King. It just looks so big, you know. The ground is shaking, rocks are flying everywhere. Who knows what's really happening? Do we have buyback? No, we do not have buyback. Wow, this is actually going to be really painful for the Radiant here. And MKB actually up in those Windrunners. So those Windrunners actually getting quite insane farm. Has been doing a really good job of keeping him his farm all game. Fortification is going to come out from the Radiant here. Yeah, Queen of Pain just doing her best to try to slow these people down, but she's got to watch out here because, yeah, at any moment they can just blink in and basically kill. I mean, the Queen of Pain can be up, but the Chen like this, it's really risky, although actually he's going to survive, so good distraction after all, maybe. And actually, with 4 people up now for the Radiant, they might actually be able to catch them. I would like to see the Queen of Pain keep going here. She's got backup, and they could have actually, yeah, caught at least the Tide, if not more. Maybe even the Void, I don't know. But, I mean, it's risky. The Bane still has his ult. Oh, no, he actually doesn't have his ult. So, yeah, I really would have liked to see, I don't know, see the Queen of Pain played a little bit more aggressive there. But it's also risky against a Void with this kind of damage because, I mean, 2 hits and you're literally dead. Or maybe even 1 hit with a nice crit. Unfortunately, the Dire's just going to get Roche again here. So, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to call it, but that is going to be a tough thing for them to surmount. As we've seen, I don't know. I mean, I guess with this team fight here, it wasn't even a great fight for the Dire based on the way things went, but it's just as the game has progressed, their heroes have scaled just a little bit better and better than the Radiants have. And that's been the difference. I mean, Nightstalker was in there just attacking for a while, whereas Void is getting almost constantly CC'd, but the Nightstalker just doesn't do as much damage as the Void. So, I mean, the fact that he's able to attack for so long doesn't really matter so much, as whereas the Void, who the Radiant has done an amazing job of constantly keeping CC'd, but when he gets out, he actually is going to do damage. Although I imagine his BKB is probably down to about 5 seconds now. Yeah, 5 seconds. So, I mean, that will be a disadvantage for him, and I actually wonder if the Nightstalker would actually consider swapping out his BKB, selling it, and buying a new one with 10 seconds, because that BKB has been so important for him, and you've seen those times. Anytime that the BKB wears off is basically when it starts to be trouble for him. But anyway, if you look at the gold, it's actually dipping back down close to 0 thanks to that Roche kill. And I assume I would have thought they would have put the cheese on the Windrunner with all this items she has. I mean, just sell the magic wand and give her the cheese. But they actually do give it to Holy again. Holy's items, they were good early on. He had a nice, well, relatively early sacrificial stone, but since then it's kind of fallen off a little bit. I mean, obviously it's not very easy to farm as a Bane, as opposed to someone like a Windrunner who can power shot and avoid, who can right-click down creeps. So I mean, that's understandable. But I wonder if really giving him the cheese is that important. I mean, once he uses his abilities, he really isn't that much more of a use. Whereas the Windrunner, with these kind of items, is actually going to do a significant amount of right-click damage. Actually, maybe even more than this Night Stalker. So this is going to be a big problem for the Radiant here, as they actually now have basically 2 heroes they have to contend with. And I don't really know, I guess, if you call it necessarily right-click damage when it's from a Windrunner, R damage. But it's, I mean, right-click as well. She's still doing a significant chunk of damage. Looks like Night Stalker actually decided to go for a Sange, so I guess he's going to go for Heaven's Halberd, which will be nice against the Void. That it's what, 3 something? I don't know, a couple second disarm. Yeah, Teal again pointing out their lack of wards. Let's see how long that disarm is. 4 seconds. Oh wait, 3 seconds on melee targets. So yeah. Ooh, and Bane actually does have an Invis rune here. Night Stalker is going to pop his BKB and run in, but he's by himself here. So this, I don't really know what's going on here. He's just going to get killed. And his team maybe, no, the epicenter, the Sand King isn't anywhere near, so there's not actually, this isn't even a good bait into an epicenter. This is actually just basically a throw. To be perfectly honest, this is actually just going to be game here. Void does use his ult. Epicenter on the back end is able to do a fair amount of damage, but yeah, the GG's already coming out from Terminator. He knows exactly what this was. So, I don't know, interesting throw there. I guess maybe just got a little bit impatient, the Night Stalker, understanding this situation the game was in. And wanted to try to end it, but I don't know that that was the way. I mean, he did try to end it. That was the way that you end it, but not necessarily the way they wanted it ended, or not with necessarily the ending they wanted. Yeah, well, we're gonna have a little bit of chat here about what may or may not, maybe should or shouldn't have happened. But I mean, Terminator is bringing up a good point here that they just needed to push more. They didn't do enough. And again, this is why I said I just never draft push strategies when playing at this level, when I normally do the drafting. So anyway, this is going to be all the racks, and I assume the Radiant's not even going to fight it off. I am going to stay around, though, to get the end stat screen score, so that you guys can see that in case you might want to. We can take a look at that. I mean, the gold graph really just didn't favor the Dire, but, you know, it's just the hero picks. And that's not to say that the Radiant got outpicked. The Radiant picks were actually excellent, but they just weren't able to materialize what they needed to do quickly enough, and, well, you know, this late game carries, or late game carry and Windrunner and Tide and stuff like this. Although actually Tide does kind of lose his effectiveness as the game progresses, because once heroes get BKB, his ult's just really not very effective. Nice ult going to come in here from Awful. Actually, he's going to get a kill or two, just 1 kill. But yeah, Mega Creeps are already up, so it's not really going to mean anything. And Windrunner actually does just buy back. I wonder if she'll buy the travels. Yeah, she does get travels, so she's down here as well now. And they actually are going to take out the Void, but again, Void has Aegis, so it doesn't really matter, and they're already Mega Creeps, so also it doesn't matter. Speaking of Void, voiding up the Bane is actually just going to turn around and ult in here. Actually should focus fire this guy here. Looking to shackle shot him to something, but that's not going to work out. The Night Stalker actually is going to manage to take out the Bane, and actually probably be able to run away. He does eventually focus fire, the Windrunner does, but maybe just a little bit too late, but not that it really matters. Benny also bought up, no, he didn't buy up Travels yet, I forgot he had the Aegis, so he is going to look to kill some people now that the Aegis is back up. But again, just being chain CC'd very effectively. The Radiant have had really good coordination as far as team fights have gone. Well, more or less. So it's certainly not changing now, even with the game over in the last little couple fights. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. Don't really know what more there was to say. Just want to thank everyone who played in this game for letting me commentate it. It was a great game to commentate, great game to watch. Really lots of action, exciting, close the entire way. Yeah, just got to see kind of 2 conflicting styles. The turtle strategy with the Lich, Tide, Void versus the push strategy. And the turtle strategy did end up kind of just barely winning out. And yeah, Benny doing a significant amount of damage. Although that's another thing, with going Vlad's with Ulgineer, I'm not sure how effective that is either, because, you know, Vlad's is going to give you is going to give you lifesteal from the damage you deal, or the physical damage you deal, which is not from Ulgineer, so I don't really know. But I mean, I guess at this point he just wanted the damage aura and the lifesteal anyway. But yeah, so GG to both teams, and we'll take a look at the score screen just so that you guys have that in just 2 seconds here or so. And yeah, so there is that. Again, thanks everyone for watching this in-house scrim, whatever you want to call it. Hopefully we'll be able to bring you more of these in the future. And yeah, that's about it. See you guys.